Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Pod Save Chocolate. My name is Clay Gordon. I'm your host today, and today we're going to be talking about the 2025 Midwest Craft Chocolate Festival. Last year, 2024, was the inaugural year. This is the second year of the festival, and I'm going to be joined shortly by the organizer of the festival, the creator of the festival, and also the organizer and creator of the Craft Chocolate Challenge, Dustin Cornett. Before we get there, I want to say to everyone, as I do, this episode of Pod Save Chocolate is sponsored by the members of TheChocolateLife. And you can go over to TheChocolateLife now and become a member. Click the green join button at the top, and you can go into the live chat on YouTube or the comments and LinkedIn and Facebook. Let me know where in the world you are connecting from, and we'll get that up on screen. And give a shout out. If you have questions or comments, you can also question or comment during the episode. Before I bring Dustin onto the stage, I want to say that for every episode of Pod Save Chocolate, I put together a post. And this is the post for today's episode. You can follow along, or you can go back and refer to things afterwards. And with that, let's just jump right into it. Dustin, welcome back to Pod Save Chocolate. It's been, since we did the winners episode of the Craft Chocolate Challenge, which would have been last April or May or something like that. It seems like forever ago. But it's a very, very exciting time. Tell us what's been going on in Rushville, Indiana, since the last time we had a chance to speak.
Yeah, so a lot's going on. Thanks for having me back. Always a pleasure to be here to talk to everybody who loves chocolate, right? So, second annual Midwest Craft Chocolate Festival is what we're working on now. A lot going on. So do you want me to go over the differences this year, or where do you want me to start? Because I have a long list of things.
Well, so let's start with this. I mean, so several years ago, so the 2026 Craft Chocolate Challenge is going to be the 5th season, as I recall.
That's correct.
So several years ago, you said, I can't find an awards program that I want to enter. And so I'm going to create my own awards program. And that was the Craft Chocolate Challenge. Right? And you've been through 4 episodes. I got involved in episode number 2. And for everybody, Dustin and I were talking for a few minutes, and I've committed to being a judge again for season 5. So I'm looking forward to that as well. We'll talk more about that at the end of the episode for people who are interested. But when you were moving from Beattyville, Kentucky to Rushville, Indiana, you said, I'm not busy enough with a challenge. I'm not busy enough with my own chocolate business. I'm not busy enough with my family. But now that I'm no longer running a bed and breakfast, I have time to organize and run a chocolate festival. And I get it, maybe, but, talk about, Rushville is first, Rushville, the town, and how you were received by the powers that be within Rushville, and what your expectations were for the 2024 festival and how they got met or didn't. So let's start with a little history and a background.
Yeah, that's a very good place to start. And it kind of just happened by chance and just with different things that happened in my life. So I'll take it back when I was in Beattyville, and some lady I had never heard of sent me a message, said she was traveling through the area, but she couldn't make it in time to stop in my shop, but she wanted to see if she could still swing by. That would be Barb. And that was my first time to meet Barb. And we basically hung out in my chocolate shop, and I'd been doing the challenge. So I was letting her taste some of the chocolate from the challenge and some of my chocolate. And we just talked about all that. I never met her in my entire life, but I felt like I had known her my entire life. So that was my first experience meeting her. And then she went on her merry way, and we kept in contact through Instagram here and there. Didn't think too much about it then. And then I sold my inn, and I was looking for a new place. We were a free agent, pretty much could go wherever we kind of wanted to go. And we found Rushville, and we were attracted to Rushville because of how they think. They even say that they reimagine things, and they want to it's a really small town. It's like 6,000 people, but you wouldn't know that by what they do and how they feel like they can do anything. And that's kind of how I feel. I feel, I'm just a little dude from Eastern Kentucky, but I feel like I can do anything. So like these people were relating to me, and I thought I could possibly have a pretty positive impact here. So that's one reason why I latched on to Rushville, and I'm so happy that they accepted me. And like all this momentum was happening with us moving up here and excitement over our business, and I just felt this could be the time to think about a festival. I was always kind of interested in ways to network with other chocolate makers. One reason for doing the challenge was to get feedback and to meet other chocolate makers, but it didn't have its real place for us to gather. I did make the inn a place to do some like in-person judging, but it was a really remote area of Eastern Kentucky, kind of hard to get to, and the time of year we had to do it was kind of difficult. So that wasn't really ever an option. Um, the rice is done in my house now that you know that music is going off. So I'll be eating rice later today. Anyway, back to the story. I had all this momentum going, and I wanted to put a place together where we could like meet each other and network. And I was being so well received in Rushville and impressed by the people here about their abilities to do things.
Mhm.
I thought, well, maybe I should give it a chance. So, and then I can reconnect with Barb and see her thoughts, because I knew she traveled, the country, the world even, and made the connections with chocolate makers. She would understand what could be needed for such things. And if she wanted to be a part of it, we reached out to some other people in the area, like Paul Picton at Maverick, and David with Bean to Barstool, and London Co. with Peace on Fifth. And we set up a meeting in Rushville with the different organizations. So the tourism, the heart of Rushville, the city's office, the mayor's office. And we just had a big think tank. And what could we do? How could we do it? And these people coming in from the outside world into this little small town of Rushville, they all had a magical experience here, and they took that home with them, and then that just grew, and they felt like this is what they want to be part of. And we connected with Lila with Cocoa Supply. They, she was all aboard and sponsoring us and making sure that we had what we needed to do to launch. And I'd never organized a festival. So it was a big learning experience, but we were able to put together such an all-star team that just, it worked. And then now we're here in year 2, trying to just make it better and build off that success. Let's go.
So what I want to do really, really quickly, Dustin, is share. So again, this is from the post, which is for this episode on the Chocolate Life. And one of the things that I linked to was, this is my post about my experience in being in Rushville last year. So there's the link to the video that you and I did afterwards. But I also talked about, there are some photographs of the town, some of the food that I ate, tastings and all that kind of stuff, as well as my experience in being in Rushville. And I think that one of the things that makes the Craft Chocolate Festival different from other chocolate festivals, certainly from the Northwest Chocolate Festival or the Salon du Chocolat in New York City, or the Dallas Chocolate Festival, which I think of as like the 3 major chocolate festivals in the United States, maybe the Southwest Chocolate and Coffee Festival in Albuquerque, is that Rushville is in the middle of farming country, right? And one of the great things I noticed from being there last year is this sense that, because you had many exhibitors who came from farming, right? They weren't makers only, they were makers who also happened to be farmers, right? Is that you didn't need to explain farming to them. I mean, all you needed to do is say, like, how is cocoa farming different from other kinds of farming? So is being in farming community, I think, is it something that you think is a benefit to what it is that you're trying to do, making that connection? Does it provide something unique?
Yes, absolutely. So that's a parallel for us because in the craft chocolate world, we care about the farmers, whether we're a farmer or not. I'm not a farmer. I wouldn't even know how to farm. But we care about the farmer. We care about how things are done. And of course, farmers are going to care. So that is something that we can connect, even though it is a very different type of farming. There's a lot of similarities that these people can relate to. And that's the approach we took. It's like, all right, so we know they're going to understand this and we want to celebrate this anyway. So let's connect the two. And that worked. That was fantastic. And we want to build off that too. We want to take it to the next level of educating on both sides. We feel like growing the festival through education is what we would really like to do. And as a chocolate maker myself, being able to do the networking and so forth, that adds a lot of value to the festival, in my opinion. And since I'm organizing it, that's kind of the direction like I take it. So
you're being selfish in a generous kind of way. I mean, so for example, people people who've been here from the very beginning will know that I've been working with Dustin since the second year of the Craft Chocolate Challenge, but it wasn't until last November in Indiana that we had a chance to meet in person. Right? There are many people. I've been fortunate enough to be able to meet people like Paul Picton at Maverick and Mike King from Encore Coffee Company in person as I was doing my, moving across the country from New York to Arizona. But I had been speaking to many, many people for a long period of time and had the opportunity to meet them for the first time at the festival. And speaking of which, I want to say a quick shout out to Mike King at Encore Coffee Company from Kansas City, Missouri. Hey, Mike, good to have you in the episode today. And what I want to do, Dustin, is Mike is a really good example of somebody that represents the crossover between the Craft Chocolate Challenge and the Midwest Craft Chocolate Festival. So you want to give a quick soundbite, and we can go and look at some other aspects of this when you finish with that.
Yes, so you're talking about those connections, right? So actually, we're going to have we only have 3 masters in the Craft Chocolate Challenge, which means they've won 3 consecutive years and are no longer eligible to enter because we feel like we've done our duties there, right? So we master them out of the program. And we have 3 of them total, and all 3 will be at the Midwest Craft Chocolate Festival, which is really cool. And then we have several other vendors that have some connection or have participated or won in the challenge as well. So maybe around a third or so of them is connected to the challenge, which is really interesting for me because that was my first way to network and meet other makers. And they are in some ways supporting what I'm doing with the festival because they knew me previously from the challenge. And that just makes me feel great. So I love that. And I'm able to meet these people in person and even further our bond and our conversations, which is just fantastic. I talk to Mike a lot. I say probably once a week at least about something random. We'll message each other
and do a chocolate swap as well. Right.
Yes.
And Encore was an exhibitor at the inaugural festival last year. So for people, just to point out to people a couple of things about the way the website is put together. So again, here is the post on the Chocolate Life right now. You can go and take a look at it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a QR code. So if you're following along at home, what you can do is you can take a picture of the QR code in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. And what it'll do is it'll open this page in your browser. So if you're watching on a computer, you can have the page open your browser on your phone and you can follow it along. So just a quick thing that's there. But what I want to point out is, you and I have been coordinating about this episode, and returning from last year, I mean, this is a large number of people. Bean to Barstool, that's David Nilsson, who's working with beer and chocolate pairings this year. So I think that's a really good use of his background. And Dustin, while I'm doing this, let's go there so we get your face on the screen as well. Hey there, welcome back. Cacaitos, which is Cesar Aguiar, who's coming from Colombia, but he's got a business up in Canada. So he's both a cocoa farmer and a chocolate maker, which is a great example of the overlap between those two things. We've got the Philippines represented by Chalks and Boxes from Chicago, Cocoa Supply, who's the title sponsor of the event, returning from last year, Mike from Encore Coffee, Cocoa Town, Fjord and Chocolate, so Chell is going to be chiming in from Norway again this year. I mean, I had never met Chell, but I had the opportunity to meet his flight in Chicago and drive down with him from Chicago to Rushville. And then after the festival, Chell and I got in his rental car and drove down to Cincinnati to spend part of the day with Paul Picton at Maverick. So this really, really wonderful mix of people who are returning from last year, which is an important metric about the success of a festival like this. You want people to come back year after year. They feel like it was of value to them, which I think is really, really important. And then the overlap that we were talking about, which is really important, is that Chocolate Thunder, Embers Chocolate, one of the masters, Encore, one of the masters, Kesho from Texas, the first-time exhibitor, but they're also the third master. Sweets Escalier is coming all the way from Japan for this. We've got a Yellowbird, Yohoa, Red Rock, a bunch of people who are participants in the Craft Chocolate Challenge, as well as being a part of the Midwest Craft Chocolate Festival. That's got to be really gratifying for you. And have you had a chance to talk to people other than Mike, whom you speak with on a weekly basis, about how they see the connection between the festival and the challenge as being uniquely valuable to what they're doing?
Yes, and it's to a certain degree. I've been able to speak to some. Tandy has given me a call and talked to me about that as well. And in part, like, she came out from Arizona last year as a way to support me because she saw value in the challenge and she liked that, and it was, I think, it was kind of a way to support me. Then she like sold all of her bars. She's like, all right, so we'll put it on the list for next year too. So I do get that. I'm very grateful that people are supportive. That makes me feel good. It makes me feel like what I'm doing is important and of value to them. And you're right, those retention levels are amazing. And the ones who are not coming back, they would have come back if they could have, if they didn't have the other scheduling conflicts and things like that. We probably would have had everybody back. So that's awesome. And what we did as organizers in our communications with our vendors was let them kind of be part of the process, especially in year one. So it's not my festival, it's our festival. And we try to let everybody know that. And we want to grow the festival in a way that is productive and successful for chocolate makers and chocolatiers to be able to learn and to get notice and awareness about certain things. So why wouldn't we listen to other people and have their involvement? So that's kind of the approach we take. And it was received really well for anybody who wanted to speak up and do anything or say anything. If they did, we listened. And if that wasn't for them, they just want us to make it and then they come and support it, that's cool too. So kind of excited this year about adding a lot of educational stuff to our program for the makers and so forth, as I really want to grow that more and more year after year. So we'll be starting that for the first time this year.
So let's jump into that really, really quickly. And then after we get that education part done, I want to talk a little bit more about Rushville and the surrounding area. So number one, so last year, all of the educational component was on the Saturday, and it was aimed at the people who were coming as attendees. It wasn't aimed at the exhibitors per se, although there was a fabulous after the festival dinner in which Cocoa Supply gave everybody a lovely treat, and we had this wonderful tasting exercise that they had done. Right? But on Friday, which is the setup day, one of the things that's being done is after there's encouraging everybody to show up early in the day and to do setup, there's a large educational program. Do you want to talk a little bit about what the focus of that program is and what you're doing? Because it's really quite extensive. And a lot of it is facilitated because of the fact you're in a new venue. So you're in the Love Community Center, not split between 3 buildings in downtown Rushville. So tell us about, so if you're not currently signed up as an exhibitor, maybe there's still a couple of spaces less Dustin, and you can say this is what you're doing as a part of the as a part of the way of listening to exhibitors and what they're looking for, a dedicated education day as a part of the festival.
Yeah. So just a little background so it's easier to explain. So year one, we were basically in like 5 different buildings. We had like a registration building. We had 2 buildings for vendors, and we had 2 buildings for education to the public, like seminars. We were downtown, which was beautiful. It was nice, and it was really cool to be able to go to the different buildings downtown. But logistically, it's quite difficult, and we're at the mercy of the weather. So being able to have a building that's big enough that we can do it all under one roof was ideal. So we were able to do that this year. So we're moving to the Love Community Center, and that's a phenomenal building on its own. So we're so happy to be able to be in there. So everything is going to be under one roof. And what we're doing differently Friday this year compared to last year. So last year, since we were downtown, we were part of the Christmas on Main program, which is their big Christmas event in the town where Santa comes to town and all that fun stuff. And they have outdoor vendors, and it's a really exciting festive time. So we wanted to be part of that. So we were in that scene. But since we are not in the downtown area this year, we didn't want to do certain things at the same time they're doing certain things. So we started our selling to the public or ticketed event later in the day, and we're doing it as a VIP. So it's going to be chocolates with wine and bourbon, this type of pairing special experience that the tickets are actually a fundraiser for the Love Community Center itself. So we're going that direction so we can still complement what they're doing downtown with their event. So just have a really big festive weekend in Rushville. But to get what we were talking about with the education. So since we are starting it a little bit later in the day, we decided to make Friday the time where we wanted to be able to work with other vendors. Hang on, something popped up on my screen that I have to get up. Sorry. Okay, I am back. So since we have one facility that we can kind of control from start to finish there, we can let vendors set up early, and they can set up early and get ready, and then we can have a welcoming for everybody under one roof and kind of get oriented. So we can do that, and then we can have a lunch together, and during our lunch, we'll have speakers, and then we'll have time to kind of talk to each other and stuff like that too. And then we have a panel we're putting together, and certain topics we want to discuss, and have them be able to send some questions in advance so we can be prepared for this little panel. And outside of that, we're also going to allow like vendor to vendor sales time. Last year, we were so busy and in 2 different spaces, we weren't really able to buy from each other or trade chocolate with each other that easily. So we're going to allow time for us to do that, and for our volunteers and organizers to be able to have opportunities to buy chocolate they want to, because they were so busy last year that they didn't have all the opportunity to get what they wanted and to meet the other makers and vendors, especially in the different buildings. So we're conscious of that this year. So excited about that. And some of the education is going to be from HCP and ICCR. It's going to be from Cocoa Supply. It's going to be from yourself. It's going to be from David.
Just for people, HCP stands for the Heirloom Cacao Preservation Project. It's the nonprofit arm of the Fine Chocolate Industry Association. And then the ICCR is the Institute for Chocolate and Cocoa Research out of Harvard University. It was formerly the Fine Chocolate and Cocoa Institute or something, if I recall correctly. Right. So there's a dedicated day on Friday for all of the exhibitors to set up very quickly, but to get to know each other, to sell and swap chocolate. There's an educational program. There are probably more than about 20 different classes I remember looking at it for things they're going to set up, not including the panel, which I'm going to be a part of. And that's just on Friday before a VIP before a VIP session where anybody who wants to can come. But it is, again, it's being built as a fundraiser for this nonprofit organization, the Love Community Center, which is housing, which is a story in of its own. I mean, I show up on Wednesday before the festival last year, and I've got Thursday. And you had arranged for me to meet with all these people from the Love Community Center, the mayor's office, all of these people. But as I write about in the notes that I made about the festival, I mean, Rushville's 6,000 people more or less, and there's a Walmart downtown, and then Walmart decides to leave, right? And for many small towns, Walmart leaving is a sign that something's fundamentally wrong. But as you pointed out, Rushville with this can do, we can do anything kind of thing, everybody got together and figured out we're going to purchase the Walmart and we're going to repurpose it. And so now the public library is in there. There's a gymnasium, there's a swimming pool, there's a dedicated childcare facility in there. As I recall, the local food bank operates out of that as well. And then there's all this space to do special events. So it's really, really, a wonderful testament to the way a small community gets together to make stuff happen. And as you talked about the way you put together Friday, or you and the other people you spoke with about Friday, I just contributed to some ideas for some of the panels and presentations. Nothing about logistics or anything like that. There's that small town can-do attitude, which is a part of, it's all about solidarity and helping each other and, learning from each other. And this is the lesson that you learned from last year in terms of putting together this year. Although I understand Mike has now determined that the only reason he wants to come to the festival is for the bourbon on Friday night. So, Mike, just a quick, I've been corresponding. Can I name the company that's going to provide the bourbon?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've been corresponding with the people at Hard Truth Bourbon, and I went through their entire list of what they're offering. I've been asked to put together some tasting notes. It's going to be more a guideline unless I have a chance to actually taste the bourbons before I get there. But from what I've seen, there's some really, really interesting things that are going to be available. They're going to be serving there, and it'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, so there's who knew that there are wineries in Indiana? And so it's a local winery?
Easily's Winery. They're out of Indianapolis. And really interesting is they have champagne. So it's actual champagne, they call it. And they have a treaty with France to be able to call their product champagne. So I just thought that was really funny.
I want to know that story as well.
Yeah, you'll get to meet them. You'll get to meet them.
I'll
be there.
I mean, for me, there are still some people I've never met, but this is an opportunity to see people I only see once or twice a year, right? And it just so happens it's convenient. I mean, it's the weekend before Thanksgiving, and I have Thanksgiving plans. And Rushville is in the middle of the country, and I'm in Arizona. I'm going to Massachusetts, so it's perfectly situated for my holiday plans. But let's also, if I can, thanks for letting us know about the bourbon. And hey, Mike, what I will do is I hope to have an opportunity to taste the bourbons when I'm in Rushville. I can't buy them at retail here in Indiana; they're not available. But one of the things I want to do is I want to come and make some pairing recommendations for your chocolate and their bourbons to get done while I'm there. So we will talk about that. But one thing that people may know, Rushville is a town of 6,000. Why would you do a festival when only 6,000 people are in the area? That's not you'd have to get 50% of everybody to come to your festival in order to, sell out all the tickets that you want to sell out. Well, number one, you did mention there that a lot of people were coming in for the Christmas on Main celebration, which happened on Friday, which, it was a fabulous overlap. As I recall, I get done with the festival, go out and watch all the young children looking at Santa on the fire on the fire truck was a lot of fun. Um, but Rushville is roughly the center of a triangle, which includes Indianapolis, Indiana, Dayton, Ohio, and Cincinnati, Ohio. Is that correct? Those are the three cities?
Yeah, yeah, those would be, yeah, the three
Right.
bigger cities.
Right. Which is, when you think about, drawing that triangle, there are over 2 million people, all right, which from whom you can draw to come to a festival like that within about an hour's drive each way. And so there's a large enough population, right, to make it really, really work well. How much of that population, we've already talked about farming. So let's talk about something else that you think is important. Let's talk about education on Saturday, right? What's going on? There are more than 30 different public presentations, tastings, and demonstrations on Saturday. 30 of them I counted. One of them is my AMA, Ask Me Anything. But one of the things that you're doing for every single one of your vendors, your exhibitors, is you're giving them the chance to give a presentation, right? Which is something that, I don't think, when they think about other festivals, they don't necessarily give every exhibitor the opportunity, to present something. So where did that idea come from?
It's just
Do you
a,
recall?
that's probably more of a Barb question than me. She put that stuff together. Um, but we had these amazing people coming, so why not give them a chance to talk and share with the public and kind of what they do when people go to their shop. So it worked. And like you said earlier, that a lot of the chocolate makers coming that what we have here are also some farmers too, so they can talk and relate the farming aspects of it to them, and then the farmers here, and then the people who can relate to the farming understand more what goes into making chocolate. So just seemed that made a great connection there. So they were coming to sell, but they need to speak too because they have so much to speak to. So Barb did a great job putting together the speakers and lining that up, and she also does a really good job getting the exhibitors too. I know some of them are from me with the challenge, but the good majority are from her with her connections and all these people that she knows and travels and meets, and she does an amazing job kind of organizing all of that. It seems overwhelming to keep up with all of it. So
Well, and yes, I mean, you have your challenge, you have your business, the Chocolat Cafe, and then, you also have family with small children. You've got a lot on your plate, and yet you're spending time here with me today talking about the chocolate festival. Just a
it's
quick
important.
shout out, Jin Kim, who's a regular visitor from Southern California, says he had a bartender friend years ago. He's a supplier with various craft chocolate bars, right? Not bars from a bartender. I need to take parse that for a few seconds. And she'd mix pairing drinks. Yeah, I mean, are you going to have any? Is there a cocktail component to Friday night, or is it just spirits and
I would
wine?
I would probably not say cocktail. That's going to be up to them, but I think that was probably going to be a little bit too much for
Mhm.
what they're doing. So I would say just straight spirit and pairing would be what we're looking for in those regards. But yes, Saturday, something different that we're doing from last year to this year too is the last year we had two kind of classrooms, right? So 7 and 7 for a total of 14, or maybe we did 15 because we did one at lunch. I'm not sure. Anyway, around that number last year. And this year we have two rooms like that, but we also have another room that we're designating as like a tasting room. So we're doing a lot of the chocolate tastings there. And there's a senior center that has a kitchen in the Love Center. We're using that facility for like our food demonstration. So we have a dietitian that's going to use that spot, nutritionist, and go over things there. Cocoa Town's going to be giving a presentation on how to make chocolate at home, and they'll be showing off one of their smaller melangers, and then everything else you have in your house that you can make chocolate with at home. They're going to go over that. bonbon paintings, different things with confections, things like that in that room. And in the presentation rooms, I mean, we have all kinds of talks that we're planning and putting together. I'm going to be at my booth selling chocolate, but I'm going to be wishing I was in a lot of these seats. So we're going to try to get some of them recorded like we did last year. Try to do the best that we can so we can go back and watch them, because I'm going to be jealous.
Yeah, I recorded my own, and I think I shared my own recording. So at the moment, what I want to do, Dustin, is share. So this is the Midwest Craft Chocolate Festival website at the moment, as it currently is. At the moment, there is no list of the speaker program. Is that correct on Saturday?
There should be the speakers, but maybe not in-depth programming of times, not the schedule. We're still lining out the schedule. I mean, we have a few weeks left here, buddy. So give us some.
No. What I want to do is, people who are watching this, they can go there. The list of exhibitors is fairly complete. I mean, it's Honduras, Colombia, the Philippines, hopefully Madagascar. Are there other Mexico? So I think those are the producing countries that are represented here. And then you have visitors from Japan and Norway who are makers but not growers. So it's a good international representation, as well as a lot of
Sweets Escalier. They're making a special bar for the festival. So it's like a matcha yuzu bar with like the jaguar cacao. So it's really interesting. And he's a super passionate, really nice guy, and super passionate about what he does. And he's like, Dustin, let's make chocolate together. When I'm there, like, we don't really have a lot of time, but yes, let's do that. let's do that.
How is his English?
His English is, I haven't spoke with him in person in a couple of years, but we have a translator for him. That will be and my Japanese comprehension isn't too terribly bad these days. Yeah.
And I do want to point out, and I forgot them, is that right here in the center, you can see this company, Kumu Farms. They're from Liberia. So I just want to make sure that I don't overlook them. So we've got the list of exhibitors, and then if it's not there now, very, very shortly, there will list of the entire speaker program for Saturday. But
you can click on speakers there, and you can see some of them in the topics. It will show you.
Oh, up here on the top?
Yep.
Sorry. It's hidden behind my side light here. So there's a speaker list. So absolutely. So Ika Chocolate is from Madagascar. I'm Funjanina Faubush, I think is how that's pronounced. Cesar from Cacaitos. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, if I can, is like the spirit of small town. So for people who don't know, there are no entry fees in the Craft Chocolate Challenge, right? So you just, there are sponsors who take care of the costs of running the challenge. And, there's not 1,000 prizes, so it makes it easy because you're not spending all the money on doing prizes or awards, however they're going to be constituted, right? But also, the festival here is put together in such a way that it is, apart from transportation to and from, the actual costs of participating in the festival are relatively low compared with other festivals in the United States, which I think is in the spirit that you started with the Craft Chocolate Challenge, right? But for me, one of the things that was really, really wonderful is there aren't a whole lot of commercial lodging opportunities in Rushville. I mean, there's a hotel to the north, and I think you can go a hotel to the south, which is 10 or 15 miles away. It's not convenient. It's not like there are 47,000 Ubers who are taking you around, right? Either. But the homestay, tell us about, where did the homestay program come from, and how are you doing it again this year? Because I think that's such a cool aspect of things, right?
Yeah. So Okay, so yeah, we knew we had a little bit of a lodging issue. It's not a tourist town. There's not a lot of lodging options. So when we're inviting people from around the world to come, and we need to be creative of how to invite them into our home. So we literally decided to invite them into our home. So Sweets Escalier, I'll be hosting them. So happy to do that. And we have other of our organizers that will be hosting vendors. We've asked our friends and families if they could open up their homes and find different places. We found the Wilkie House for You last year, which was a renovated place, which historical building, historical home, and being able to work with people in the community to put this together. Yeah, a lady kind of came up with the concept of it last year, and I said run with it, and she did, and it just came to be. And now everybody wants a homestay, and we don't really have. I mean, we want to get more and more homes for these people, but we're bringing in a lot of people, so but a lot of them will have special homes, and I know a
Yeah.
lot of them made like connections and bonds, like with the families that they stayed with, and that's
Mhm.
another reason our retention is high, because the people that stayed where they did, they want to come back and see their buddies, and they, like, oh, can we stay with this family again?
Mhm.
Sure. Who are we to say no? So yeah, just
Well, it is really,
that's community.
it is really special. I mean, if I, I did a lot of events in Las Vegas. Right. So I worked for the World Pastry Forum and the World and National Pastry Team Championships. And it was always at the same hotel. It was always at the Rio in Las Vegas. But at the end of the night, everybody is going to all of the other places where all the favorite pastry chefs are. So they want to go visit this chocolatier. They want to go to this hotel. They want to go and do it because they want to see. Because at the time, there was the highest concentration of MOF pastry chefs and chocolatiers outside of France was in Las Vegas, right? And it was a fabulous place to go. But the energy of everything dissipated, right? And there was no real community after 5 o'clock when the formal proceedings entered. But you have the exact opposite problem. You're in Rushville, and there's not a whole lot to do in Rushville, and not everybody is going to have cars. And after 5 o'clock, you're not going to be driving an hour after doing a festival day to Indianapolis or Cincinnati. And the person you want to see in Cincinnati, Paul Picton, is in Rushville. So it's a very, very different dynamic. I mean, I was very, very fortunate. You mentioned the Wilkie House. For people who might be watching this who aren't familiar with the American political scene in the 1940s, Wendell Wilkie ran as a Republican for the presidency of the United States and didn't win, right? But his family has this house in Rushville, Indiana, and it had been offered up to members of the community for some time. International visitors, the owners of the house would put them up in the house. 3 fabulous bedrooms. There are some photographs in the post on the Chocolate Life about that if you want to go and take a look at them. But just a fabulous experience. And when I was there, it was Elmer Pineda from Yohoa in Honduras and Cesar Aguiar from Cacaitos from Colombia was staying in that house together. So we had a chance to go back and forth from the festival together, but spend some time in the morning and in the evening just getting to know each other better than they had. I know Kjell from Norway said he had a fabulous experience with his homestay. And this is one of the reasons why it makes sense to do things. I mean, because the first time it was like Rushville, Indiana. Why the heck would anybody want to put together a chocolate festival in small town in the middle of nowhere? And then I arrived, and one of the comments I made at the opening remarks was, Rushville has become the middle of somewhere, and that's a very, very special feeling, that I wish every chocolate festival had, but notably not in Paris. It's missing from New York. It might have been in the Northwest Chocolate Festival in Seattle during the first couple of years, but it's grown to a point where it doesn't feel like it has that aspect of things. And so one of the things that I'm hoping is that as the festival grows, as it becomes more successful, I'm really looking forward to seeing the energy and the excitement from this year's festival, and see how it is different from how the feel is. It's always going to be, right, but how it meets the expectations so that it grows into something bigger for next year and in the future. But before we leave today, Dustin, one of the things you and I mentioned as we were talking about this yesterday is that the 2026 Craft Chocolate Challenge is open for entries. So why don't we spend a few minutes talking about the challenge and talking about what's going on for 2026?
Yeah, so I did open that up. We have a really long window, so I typically open it up in October, and it goes through the cutoff, which is in February. I like to give a lot of time for people to decide and to enter, because it's also something you can think about creating an experimental bar, something you might want to tweak a little bit and then send and then get some advice on. So I leave the window open for an extended period of time. Plus, that helps with shipping. Some of the contests out there, they have a really short window for shipping, and that makes it very difficult. And especially now, if you're shipping internationally, it's a little bit trickier. So I like to do that. I think like as if I was entering, because I'm a chocolate maker, so I kind of set it up to be like that, and it gives you time to, if you have questions, you're able to contact me with those questions, and then make adjustments, and you still have time to do something. Now, with that said, everybody still waits until like the last week to do anything and send it, but that's just what it is. You have from now until February. Please help my sanity and sign up early and do it earlier, and then I'll sleep better at night and pay your tariffs.
So
I don't have
do.
to.
All right. So for people who aren't familiar, there are a couple of things which are slightly different about this. Again, number one, there's no registration fee. There's no fee. So it's free to enter. There are limitations, however, on the number of bars you can enter. So that limit is 2?
Yep, two total bars, one per category. So we have dark flavored, like milk, plain and flavored, and then white chocolate, plain and flavored, and an inclusion.
Yeah. So one of the differences, there are only 4 categories. Right? Dark plain and flavored, milk plain and flavored, white plain and flavored, and inclusions. And the inclusion can be white milk or dark, doesn't matter. Right? So you can enter a total of 2 bars, and you can't enter more than 1 in any category. And so this makes it very, very different from any other awards program, where you can enter as many bars as you want to, and you could enter all of them in the same category if you wanted to.
And we cap the amount of bars, because the thing is feedback. We want to give feedback. So I can ask my judges to judge thousands of bars and actually give good feedback. Excuse me. So I have to.
And that number is 100, as I recall.
Yeah, give or take. It's basically like 25 per category. But there's always more dark bars than some other bars. So I can be flexible. But yes, essentially that.
Right. You did talk about feedback. And so for me, one of the nice things about the way the judging is organized, because I helped organize it, so I wanted it to be that way, is that thinking about this in terms of giving feedback to the makers is what this is about, right? More than anything else. And in that respect, you accept entries for people who only want feedback on their bars, but don't want them to be considered for an awards, which is another unusual aspect of the competition.
And for our masters, we allow them to do that. So we have the 3 masters, like we mentioned earlier. They're not allowed to enter the contest anymore, but they'll always be allowed to send us bars that we can give them feedback on if they wish. And then, other companies can do that too if they don't want to partake in the contest part, but would like feedback on something. We're more than welcome to do that.
Gotcha. And you and I discussed this. There might be some limit on the total number of bars that you can enter for feedback only, which makes sense.
Sometimes a maker might send you too many, and it's the variable is very different. I mean, sends you like a 60 and then a 65 and a 70 of things, and it gets a little bit too much for us when we're judging. And doing feedback for a bunch of other bars too. But I'm open-minded. It's just, me. Talk with me. We'll see.
Well, and Dustin, on that, I mean, you and I had this conversation a couple of years ago, and now this is not a separate category, but it's an award that the judges give, right? Which is different from the special categories. And tell us about
The Innovation
that
Award.
category. Yeah, the
So
Innovation Award.
so Cocoa Supply sponsors our Innovation Award, and it's an important way of thinking about chocolate in the future. And it was always some of these bars were always a bit polarizing because for a contest you almost have to have every judge give you a decent to good score or you're just out, especially with only given 3, right, for a category. So anytime you have a bar that is a bit out there, a bit different, it always could be a little polarizing, and that's going to make it harder for you to win an award. But why would we want to say that that's not a good way to go about making chocolate? So came up with the concept of rewarding that innovation. So we do offer 3 innovation awards that whoever, no matter what category you enter, it's thought of as a possibility to win that award.
Right. And it's also, and it's so, this is something that I have as a judge, right? In other competitions I've lacked. I've said, wow, this is a really, really interesting idea, right? And but it may not be technically well enough executed to win on points, or there are some things that need to be done. You want to give them feedback, but you want to be able to encourage people to take these risks, right? And so for me, these are the most exciting bars in a competition. I want things that are going to sort of push the boundaries and make me think real hard, and the taste doesn't go right. And so working with Lila and getting her to agree to sponsor this Innovation Awards was, I think it's the first competition, right, of any size in chocolate that actually has an innovation category, which I think is very, very cool. And it has an entirely different judging rubric. I mean, there is a specific form that we're required to fill out. For the first couple of years, it was done on word processing documents, but last year, for the first time, you were approached by a woman by the name of Steph, who runs a site down in Australia called Beanstalker, or beanstalker.com. Right? It can be interpreted both ways. And we did the judging live online at beanstalker.com. And you can go there today and you can say, oh, this was a craft chocolate challenge entrance, and you can see some of the things, not everything, that the judges talked about in terms of evaluating those bars. So that was really, really cool, as well as growing it. Challenge to adapt to an entirely new method of judging. So there was that.
And it also is a good way to help promote the chocolate makers. So it's all about supporting the team, my team. So that's how I want to do it. No fee to do it. We're going to give you feedback. We're going to give you feedback on your packaging, your presentation, everything you need to know about how you're selling your chocolate and how, all that. Now with Beanstalker, we have a platform that we can show off you. Give us the information. It's going to be up there. It's a way of helping promote you. She's also going to do something fantastic for our festival. Really excited about what she's putting together for like our makers and kind of like our guide for our festival.
So if you're not subscribed to the Midwest Craft Chocolate Festival Instagram channel, you should do that, because I'm guessing you're posting what Steph is going to be doing, Beanstalker's going to be doing on your Instagram.
Yes, she's going to be doing some stuff like that, and even some more exciting things too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
And I want to say one last thing before I forget it too. Like, we might be maxed out on our exhibitors and things like that, but if you're a chocolate maker and you see this and you want to come and you want to be part of our education and things like that on Friday, reach out. We have space to let you come in and join our networking and things like that. Like, there's no charge for you to come and do that as one of us. So if that's something you want to do, but not sell bars at the festival, but meet up with us, then definitely reach out. We can make that happen.
Great. And I have only, so there's one rule change, I think, for the Craft Chocolate Challenge this year. So in previous years, you've allowed people to enter, but their chocolate was made for them by a third party,
Yeah,
which
so
is
there was just
fairly
like,
common.
so it was not exactly specified that I didn't want that. And I realized that I needed to specify that for the contest section, we should not allow that to happen. We can give feedback, and a lot of that feedback would be on if they're a farmer and they're growing that, how it translates into chocolate from that aspect. But the technical aspect, when it's being made by something else, we're wasting our time giving them feedback on that if they're not making it themselves. And, it's just part of the program. But we're more than happy to help them with other things. But we definitely had to put that in there.
I think that is a long overdue observation. And we're sort of at the end. I know, Justin, you have a small child to pick up at school, so you need to be aware of that. In terms of a hard stop at the end, what I want to do is just mention to everybody that this is, you can see it on screen, this is the post on the Chocolate Life for today's episode. If you go look very carefully in the upper left-hand corner of the screen you're watching, there is a QR code. You can scan the QR code and it will take you directly to this page. You don't need to worry about what it is. And if this is a run of show, here is the link to this video, sort of redundant and recursive, sort of Inception style to refer to it. But there are links on LinkedIn and Facebook, links to the Midwest Craft Chocolate Festival website, all the overview stuff we've been talking about, the represented companies, who's returning, who the Craft Chocolate Challenge entrants and winners are, who are going to be there again this year. One thing we didn't talk about is that the world premiere, or the US premiere of a new documentary called Reclaiming Cocoa is going to be in Rushville the weekend before the festival. But they're going to be screening a 15-minute reel of it during the festival on Saturday. So that's very, very cool. I'm not going to ask how you got the US premiere at all, Dustin. And there are other links. The
We're
episode
cool.
that we
That's
did.
it. We're cool.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're cool.
Rushville's the new scene. I don't know why you don't know that yet.
Well, I know about it from a chocolate scene, but I didn't talk about it for film previews. It's like movie previews. That's another thing. And other links, so you can get to, just so you know, this is the Chocolat In website, which is still your website. Is that right,
To
Dustin?
my website, I see that it says lodging there. I need to get in there and edit it.
You need to go and fix. You need to go and fix your website. I was going to point that out.
Not staying with me, guys. It's okay.
Right. But also a link to Cocoa Supply, who thank you to Lila and the team there about being the title sponsor of the festival. And this is the preview that I did for last year's festival as well, just for some background and some context. And I do this for every episode of Pod Save Chocolate. Before we leave, this is the homepage of the Chocolate Life right now. If I click on it, this episode of Pod Save Chocolate, like every episode of Pod Save Chocolate, is sponsored by the members of the Chocolate Life. If you're not a member, you can go click on the green button up here. It'll say join if you're not a member or logged in. And there's always been a free membership tier. But if you do have the resources to support the work that I do, then taking out a premium sponsorship, which also includes consulting at the higher levels, supports keeping the Pod Save Chocolate up and running and keeps the Chocolate Life alight as well. Dustin, one last thing you want to say before we go?
So speaking of consulting, you will have some spots, and Lila will have some spots on Saturday open to consult with some of our vendors and chocolate makers at the festival. So thank you, guys.
That's a new thing that's offered this year, is that on Saturday there are 30-minute slots, 45-minute slots, something like that, where you can come in, sit down with us, and it's a one-on-one, ask us anything you want to about what it is that we're doing. So any person who is a vendor, who is signed up an exhibitor, will have access to be able to sign up with those things. And with that, we good for today? I hope we'll see many of you in Rushville, Indiana at the weekend before Thanksgiving. And
Tickets are on sale now, and the
eh,
VIP one is very limited. So if you want to come to the Friday night with the bourbon and the wine, get
yeah.
on it.
And you
But
can
yeah,
find the link. You can find the link to purchase those tickets on the homepage of the Midwest Craft Chocolate Festival website. This coming Friday is really exciting for me. I'm going to be posting later today the third in my 4-part series, The Changing Landscape of Cocoa Sourcing. So that's going to be published today. This coming Friday, I am doing a live stream. I'm doing an episode of Pod Save Chocolate where I'm going to be talking about those 3 episodes and trying to put all the parts together. It's about you know you know the history of ethical cocoa sourcing from the 1820s until today. So it's been a great journey for me. And I think a week from today, I'm going to be having an interview and tasting episode with Tandy Peters of Embers Chocolate. She's got some new stuff going on in the business, and she's got a whole new raft of seasonal chocolate bars that I'm looking forward to. And with that, I want to say thanks everybody who've been here with the journey from beginning to end. And to sign off, as I always do, by saying, well, before I do that, thank you very much to Dustin for being here with me today. And to say, everybody, if you're working with chocolate and you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. Until the next time, everybody, ciao.